Right. So today we're going deep on this guy, Bryan Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard about this guy?
I have.
He's
Pretty wild.
yeah, he's making headlines, and I mean everywhere it seems like. Newsweek, Outkick, even like LED Bible, Unilad.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's this tech millionaire, right? And he's like super into this idea of reversing aging.
Like actually reversing aging.
Yeah, not just like living longer, but
Like he wants to actually be younger.
yeah, his goal is to actually have the body of an 18-year-old.
Wow.
Like that's
the benchmark.
the goal.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, right?
Actually.
Because he's 47.
Right.
I mean, this guy's not like some 80-year-old who's like, I want to be young again.
Mm-hmm.
He's like in the prime of his life, right?
Well, you'd think.
You would think. And he's like, nope, I want to be 18.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he sold his company, what was it called?
Braintree.
Braintree, for like $800 million.
Yeah, big money.
And he's just pouring millions into this project called Project Blueprint.
Which is like his whole system for how to do this.
Yeah, so Project Blueprint's basically like, I don't even know how to describe it.
It's like a complete body overhaul. Like he's trying to
It's like he's biohacking himself.
yes, optimize every single part of his body.
Yeah, from like his organs
Down to like the cellular level.
to like how he sleeps.
Yep.
Like it's,
Everything.
yeah, and he's like meticulously tracking every single thing. Like,
I was reading he measures like over 1,500 different health metrics.
how do you even like,
I don't even know what some of those are.
I know.
And it's a lot.
Yeah, like I can't even keep track of like my steps some days,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's doing like blood tests,
Right.
MRIs.
Like regular colonoscopies, body fat scans, everything.
Yeah, he's like obsessed with data.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like he's using all this data to then adjust what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
So it's not just like collecting data for the sake of it.
Right.
He's constantly analyzing it and like tweaking his regimen, his diet, his supplements, everything.
So it's like this constant feedback loop.
Exactly. He's like fine-tuning his body like a machine.
Yeah, it's like he's turned himself into like a human experiment.
Which I guess he kind of has.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet is going nuts over this.
Oh yeah, people are either
It's fascinating.
fascinated or like totally freaked out.
Totally freaked out.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Like one of the things that's gotten the most attention is this whole thing with his son.
Oh, yeah, the blood plasma stuff.
Yeah, so he did this experiment where he like got blood plasma transfusions from his teenage son.
His 17-year-old son at the time.
Yeah, and then he gave his own plasma to his dad, who's like 70.
Right, like this whole idea of young blood.
Young blood, like, is that the key to staying young?
And he actually claims that his dad's like aging rate decreased by like 25 years after this.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty bold claim.
That's huge.
Yeah. And I mean, some people online are like, this is it. This is the fountain of youth.
Yeah, but then other people are like, this is so weird.
This is getting into like creepy territory.
Yeah, some people are even calling it like satanic.
Yeah. It's like, what are the ethical implications of all this?
Totally. And it makes you wonder, like, how far are we willing to go
Right. Like, where do we draw the line?
to like chase this idea of immortality?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole thing with like him sharing his
Oh, you mean
the erection data
yeah.
online.
That was a wild one.
Like he posted a comparison of his and his son's like nighttime erections.
Like the number of erections, the duration. They even had like a quality score.
I know. It's like, what?
I can't even.
And he's wearing this device apparently that like tracks all this.
Right. It's all about the data for him.
Yeah, he's like, data is everything, even when it comes to like.
Even your erections?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's arguing that like good erections are a sign of good health.
Right. But like, come on, man.
But like, do you have to share that with the world?
On Twitter.
On Twitter.
Yeah.
So the internet obviously went wild.
Yeah.
Like people were making jokes. They were like, is this what peak performance looks like?
I know.
Some people were genuinely concerned.
Yeah, like, is this guy okay?
Right. Is this healthy?
Yeah.
But the funniest part is his son was totally cool with it.
Yeah, he was like, my dad's just trying to optimize everything.
He's just being him.
That's my dad.
Yeah. So it's like this whole weird family dynamic too.
Right. Like imagine sitting down at the dinner table and your dad's like, hey, let's compare our erection data.
Oh my God.
So, I think it's safe to say Bryan Johnson
He's a unique individual.
he's definitely pushing the boundaries
Of what's normal.
of what's considered normal when it comes to health and aging.
And like what's appropriate to share online.
Yeah. But you know what? I kind of admire his
His boldness?
yeah, he's not afraid to like put himself out there.
Totally.
And he's really making us think about like what's possible.
Right, like what are the limits of human potential?
Okay, so let's dive into this project blueprint a little deeper.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
What's he actually doing on a daily basis to, like, achieve this 18-year-old body?
So imagine waking up every morning and the first thing you do is chug this like green giant smoothie,
Which actually a lot of the articles describe as looking like,
black sludge.
yeah, not green at all.
Appetizing.
Like something you'd find in a swamp.
Yeah.
Not something you'd want to drink first thing in the morning.
But for him, it's like fuel.
It's like rocket fuel.
Yeah, it's packed with all these nutrients and stuff.
Yeah, but like, I'm pretty sure I'd rather just have a cup of coffee
Probably.
and like a normal breakfast.
You and me both.
Yeah,
But hey, he's on a mission.
he's on a mission.
So.
So this black sludge smoothie is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
Right, this is like,
The first step in his very long and very detailed daily routine.
so tell me what else is going on in this routine?
All right, so after the smoothie, we're talking about 100 different supplements.
100.
Like 100 pills.
Every day.
Every single day.
I can barely remember to take my multivitamin.
Right.
This guy's like popping pills like it's candy.
Well, and it's all very specific.
Oh, yeah.
Like each supplement is targeted at a specific thing, you know?
Like boosting his telomeres or whatever.
Yeah, like improving his mitochondrial function, reducing inflammation, all that stuff.
So it's not just like random supplements.
No, it's all very carefully calculated.
Wow. So like, how does he even keep track of all that?
I don't know, he must have like a spreadsheet or something.
Probably has like an app,
An app, yeah, for sure.
like the Bryan Johnson app that tells you when to take your 100 pills.
The Blueprint app.
The Blueprint app.
Yeah, I bet that's coming soon.
That was probably already a thing.
Probably.
All right, so 100 pills, check. What's next?
Next. All right, so then he's got this super strict vegan diet.
Okay, so no meat, no dairy,
Nope.
just plants.
Plants. All the plants.
And I'm guessing it's not just like,
Whatever he wants.
yeah, like pizza with vegan cheese.
Oh, no.
This is like
Very specific.
calculated, measured,
Measured, weighed, everything.
like every gram of broccoli is accounted for.
Exactly. And it all adds up to a certain number of calories.
How many calories are we talking about?
I read it's like 1,977 calories a day.
That seems low, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, for someone who's like working out so much,
And like trying to like,
rebuild his body.
yeah,
But again, I guess it's all part of the plan,
right,
the blueprint.
the blueprint.
Okay, so we've got the smoothie, the pills, the vegan diet.
What else is this guy doing?
Okay, so are you ready for this?
Hit me.
He uses electromagnetic pulses for his pelvic floor muscles.
What?
Yeah. It's a
Like, what is that? Like some kind of like
it's like a device.
a weird sex toy or something?
It's not quite a sex toy, but it's definitely like high tech
So it's not for like,
pleasure.
no.
It's for like strengthening those muscles,
Oh, okay.
which I guess is important for, various reasons.
Right, like bladder control, all that.
Yeah, and maybe some other things too.
Wink, wink.
Maybe.
Okay, so electromagnetic pulses for the pelvic floor.
Yeah.
What else? What else has he got?
Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more
Personal.
personal.
Okay, tell me.
He wears a device for tracking his erections.
Wait, we're back to the erection.
We're back to the erections.
I thought we were done with that.
Nope, it's a key part of his whole health optimization thing.
So he's like wearing this thing 24/7.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, that's commitment.
That's dedication.
So is this like a medical thing or is this just like a Bryan Johnson thing?
I mean, I guess it could be both.
Right?
Like maybe he's using it to track like blood flow or something.
Right, like maybe there's some actual medical data he's getting from this.
Yeah, but also knowing him, he's probably just obsessed with tracking everything.
Right, like every little detail.
Even his erection.
Okay, so electromagnetic pulses, erection tracker, check,
Yeah.
check.
Check.
Anything else or are we good?
Well, I mean, that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
There's more.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more.
This guy's routine is like
Insane.
insane.
It's like a full-time job just to stay young.
Yeah,
But I guess when you have $800 million, you can kind of do whatever you want.
true.
So yeah, we're just scratching the surface here.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to
Dive deeper
dig deeper.
in the next part.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Stay tuned, folks, because this is just getting started.
It's about to get really interesting.
It is. So buckle up and we'll be back in a minute.
All right, see you then.
Okay, so we're back. And we are talking about Bryan Johnson, this guy who wants to have the body of an 18-year-old
At age 47.
at age 47. Yeah. So,
Crazy, right?
I'm so crazy. So last we left off, we were talking about his daily routine.
Right, although the supplements and the weird
The
smoothies,
black sludge.
the black sludge.
Yeah. So, like, where do we go from there? Like, what else is this guy doing?
Okay, so on top of all that, he also works out like a maniac.
Really?
Oh, yeah, hours every day.
Wow. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Right, if you want to have the body of an 18-year-old,
You got to put in the work.
you got to put in the work.
But I'm guessing it's not just like going for a jog around the block.
Oh, no, this is like high-intensity training.
Really?
Yeah, he's doing like strength training, cardio, all kinds of stuff.
And remember, he's tracking all of this too.
Of course, every rep, every calorie burned.
So he's like wearing a heart rate monitor and all that.
Oh, yeah, he's got all the gadgets.
And probably like a personal trainer and
I'm sure he's got a whole team of people helping him.
yeah, this is like a full-blown operation.
It's like a scientific experiment.
With his body as like the subject.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so intense workouts, check.
Check.
What about the data tracking?
Oh, yeah, we can't forget about the data.
Because this guy's obsessed with data.
Data is king.
Data is everything.
So we're talking like regular blood tests.
Like how regular are we talking?
Like multiple times a week?
What?
Yeah, he's getting his blood drawn all the time.
I hate needles.
You do?
I can barely handle like getting my blood drawn once a year.
But for him, it's like a routine thing.
Wow, and what are they even testing for in all these blood tests?
I mean, everything.
Like what kind of everything?
Like hormone levels, nutrient levels, inflammation markers, you name it.
So he's like looking for any little thing that's out of whack.
Exactly. So he can adjust his regimen accordingly.
And on top of the blood tests, there's like
MRIs,
colonoscopies, body fat scans. He even tracks his heart rate variability.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for him.
Which I actually don't even really know what that is.
So basically, it's like a measure of the tiny variations in the time between your heartbeats.
Oh.
And it can tell you a lot about your nervous system and how well your body is adapting to stress.
So like if your heart rate variability is good.
It means you're like more resilient.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a measure of how well your body can handle change.
So this guy's tracking everything from like his blood to his heartbeat.
Pretty much, yeah.
To his erections.
To his erections, don't forget those.
Yeah, we're not forgetting those.
It's all part of the data.
So with all this data, what's he actually finding?
Well, according to him, he's seeing some pretty impressive results.
Really?
Yeah. He claims he has the heart of a 37-year-old.
Wow.
The skin of a 28-year-old.
Get out of here.
And the lung capacity of an 18-year-old.
So he's actually like reversing his aging.
That's what he says.
That's wild.
Yeah, but there's a but.
There's always a but.
What's the but?
Not everyone's buying it.
What do you mean?
I mean, not everyone in the scientific community is convinced that his methods are actually working.
So there are some skeptics out there.
Oh, yeah, plenty of them.
Okay, so what are they saying?
Well, one of the main criticisms is that he's basically treating himself as a single subject experiment.
Right, it's just him.
It's just him.
So there's no control group. No control group, and he's doing so many things at once.
Right, like all the supplements.
The diet, the workouts, the blood plasma.
Erections.
The erections. It's like, how can you possibly know what's actually making a difference?
Yeah, it's like he's throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Exactly, and then claiming victory when something does stick.
But it could just be a coincidence.
Right, or it could be something completely unrelated to what he's doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is something that a lot of experts have pointed out.
Like who? Give me some names.
Well, there's Dr. Eric Verdin. He's the CEO of the Buck Institute for Research on Aging.
Okay, he sounds legit.
He's a big deal in the aging research world.
And what does he say about Bryan Johnson?
Well, he's called Johnson's quest for immortality a pipe dream.
Ouch.
Yeah, he's basically saying that it's not scientifically sound.
So he's not a believer?
Not really, no.
What about other experts?
Well, there's Dr. Nir Barzilai. He's the director of the Institute for Aging Research at Albert Einstein College of Medicine.
Okay, another big name.
Yeah, and he's expressed similar concerns.
Like what?
He's worried about the long-term effects of some of Johnson's treatments.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Like, we don't really know.
What the long-term consequences of all this stuff might be.
Especially when you're combining so many different things.
Right. It's like a recipe for disaster.
And then there's Dr. Andrew Steele.
Oh, yeah, he's the guy from the Netflix documentary.
The one about Bryan Johnson.
Yeah.
So he must know a lot about this stuff.
He does, and he's actually pretty sympathetic to Johnson's goals.
Okay.
But even he said that it's really hard to tell which of Johnson's interventions are actually working.
Because there are just too many variables.
Exactly.
So even if Johnson is seeing some positive changes, it's impossible to say for sure what's causing them.
Right. It could be the diet, the supplements, the exercise, the blood plasma.
the electromagnetic pulses for his pelvic floor muscles.
Don't forget those.
Yeah, those two.
It's just too much going on.
Yeah, it's like trying to untangle a giant knot. So it sounds like there's a lot of skepticism in the scientific community about whether Bryan Johnson's methods are actually effective.
There is, yeah.
But you know what? Even if he's wrong,
Even if it's all a big waste of money.
he's still making us think about aging in a different way.
Totally, he's challenging the status quo.
Yeah, he's like pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
And he's not afraid to experiment on himself.
Literally.
Literally.
So, I mean, I gotta give him props for that.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to take risks.
And he's sharing everything he's learning with the world.
He is. He's got a website, a newsletter, a YouTube channel.
It's like he's creating a movement.
A movement for radical life extension.
Yeah. And he's even launched his first commercial product.
Oh, yeah. What was it again?
It's like a cholesterol-reducing olive oil.
Right, like some special kind of olive oil.
That's supposed to like make you live longer.
Or at least lower your cholesterol.
Yeah, something like that.
So he's definitely trying to capitalize on this whole thing.
I mean, can you blame him?
Not really.
He's got a brand to build.
He's got a message to spread.
And a lot of people are buying into it.
They are. They're fascinated by him.
They're inspired by him.
And they want to be like him.
Yeah, they want to be young forever, too.
Who doesn't?
Right.
But, it's important to remember that this is still all very experimental.
Yeah, we don't know what the long-term effects of any of this stuff are going to be.
And even if Johnson is successful,
Like, even if he does manage to live to be 150 years old.
it doesn't mean that everyone else can.
Right. His methods are incredibly expensive.
Millions of dollars a year.
So even if he does figure out some magic formula for reversing aging, it's not going to be accessible to most people.
Which raises a whole other set of ethical questions.
Yeah, like, are we headed towards a future where the wealthy can buy their way into extended lifespans?
While everyone else is left to age and die normally.
It's a pretty dystopian thought,
It is.
but it's something we need to be thinking about. So amidst all this controversy, all this debate about whether Johnson's methods are actually working, whether they're safe, whether they're ethical.
There's another question that we haven't really addressed.
What's that?
Why is he doing all of this?
Yeah, like, what's his motivation?
Is he just afraid of death?
Or is there something more to it?
That's what we need to explore next.
Okay, so let's dive into the mind of Bryan Johnson and try to understand what's driving this quest for eternal youth.
Let's get philosophical.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so we've talked about what Bryan Johnson is doing to like reverse his aging, but
Right, the how.
yeah, the how, but like now we got to talk about the why.
The why is always the most interesting part.
I know it is. It's like, what's driving this guy?
Like, what's his deep motivation?
Yeah, is he just like terrified of death?
Or is it something deeper?
Because you think like a guy who made $800 million selling his company.
Right. He's already achieved, like, the ultimate success.
You'd think he'd be like chilling on a beach somewhere.
Enjoying life.
Yeah, but instead he's like injecting himself with young blood.
In tracking his erections.
Don't forget the erection.
Never forget the erection.
So it's got to be something more than just like a fear of dying.
Right, like, what's really going on in his head?
So what do you think? Well, what's your take on his motivation?
Well, he's actually talked about this quite a bit.
He has.
Yeah, like in interviews and stuff.
Okay, so what's he saying?
Well, he's been pretty open about his past struggles with depression.
Really? Even after he made all that money?
Yeah, even after he became super successful.
It's kind of surprising.
It is. It kind of challenges our assumptions about, like, money and happiness.
Right. Like we all think if we just had enough money, all our problems would go away.
But clearly that's not always the case.
So maybe for Johnson, it's not just about living longer.
Maybe it's about, like, conquering some kind of internal darkness.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, maybe he's trying to outrun his own demons.
Well, like biohacking his way to happiness?
Yeah, like maybe he thinks if he can just optimize his body, he can optimize his mind too.
That's a pretty deep thought.
It is, and it kind of makes you wonder what he's really running from.
We're running towards
Right, like, is this all just a distraction from something else?
a way to avoid dealing with like the real issues.
Maybe.
Is like he's created this elaborate project to keep himself busy.
And to give himself a sense of purpose.
Yeah, because if you're focused on like reversing your aging,
You don't have time to think about anything else.
right, it's like the ultimate distraction.
But it also makes me wonder, like, what happens if he fails?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, what if he puts all this time and effort and money into this?
And it doesn't work.
What happens then?
Does he just give up?
Or does he double down?
Does he become like even more obsessed?
It's like a slippery slope.
It is. And it kind of makes you wonder if this whole quest for immortality is actually healthy.
Or if it's just another form of addiction.
An addiction to self-improvement.
to control,
Wanted.
to the idea that we can cheat death.
So where does that leave us?
Well, I think it leaves us with a lot more questions than answers.
I think you're right.
Bryan Johnson is like a walking paradox.
He is. He's this brilliant tech entrepreneur.
Who's also kind of a mad scientist.
He's obsessed with data and optimization.
But he's also trying to escape something deep inside himself.
He wants to live forever.
But he's also confronting his own mortality in a way that most of us never do.
He's pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
But he's also raising some serious ethical questions.
And I think that's what makes him so fascinating.
He's forcing us to confront our own beliefs about aging, about death, about what it means to be human.
He's making us think about the limits of technology.
And the limits of ourselves.
So yeah, this has been a wild ride.
It has. It's been a deep dive into the mind of a very complex and contradictory individual.
And I think it's safe to say that we've only scratched the surface.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to explore.
But for now, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
Definitely, this is a conversation that's going to continue long after this episode is over.
Well said. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but we'll be back next week with another deep dive into a fascinating topic.
Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what you think is possible.
Thanks for listening.